Okay, so today we're going to look at improving the overall quality of your writing to better engage and interest the reader. It's obviously a very important skill, and even though in the exam you're not going to be writing any fiction, the skills you learn doing this activity will help you improve your writing and make it more engaging overall. So, when we first look at this story here, and please do download the extract called Boring Story, and have it open as well while you watch this video, just so you can refer back to it. There's a few things that spring out at me, problems basically with this story. I'd like you to pause the video and see whether you can figure out some of the problems. Okay, so first off, let's have a look at how these paragraphs start. They all start in the same way. I, it, I. Most of those paragraphs start with I, which is a little bit boring. So, firstly, we could have a look at chopping and changing that. Another problem with it is the sentence structure doesn't really vary very much. It starts with your subject, I, and then sort of goes on, and it kind of plods through. So, let's have a look at this first couple of sentences here, and knowing what we know about how to vary our sentence structure, how to create complex sentences, how to maybe start not just with the subject but with something else, let's have a think about whether we can improve this. So let's start with the second part of this. Instantly, just because that sentence there is a different structure, a different way of ordering the sentence than pretty much every other sentence in the story, it jumps out a bit more. It's a bit more engaging. You'll notice that I've also included an adverb there, so have a look at that parts of speech section on this as well, because use of adverbs is very useful. That use of that adverb finally gives us this idea that it's a very long journey, which isn't really present in that first couple of sentences. Another problem with this, other than just the sentence structures not being that great, they're very samey, is that there's not too much description here. So we're told the town was small. Well, how could we improve that? Tell you what, pause the video, see whether you can come up with some more descriptive ways of describing how small the town is. Okay, so this is what I got. Firstly, this first example here, I've used a simile and a bit of exaggeration for comic effect as well. The town was so small that I could have thrown a stone right across it. That just gives us an idea here that, it's a tiny town. The second example, I've used some adjectives to add a bit of flavour. So I said the tiny run-down town clung to the side of the hill. So again, we're getting this idea that it's a small town. And the third one is just a bit more detail here. I've actually changed it into a couple of sentences and basically just said, I barely believed this place was a town. It must have only had 3 roads, and one of those ended abruptly at a set of run-down warehouses. And again, what I'm doing here, what you might have noticed I'm doing here, is that, especially in these last 2 examples, I'm using that adjective there, run down, and I'm also using the adjective run down in that third example here to also give a bit of flavour to the town. So it's no longer just a small town, it's a bit run down, it's a bit down a hill, it might be quite poor, it might be quite isolated. So again, I'm adding a bit more flavour to the text to draw my reader in. So, what I would like you to do now, just as a little exercise, is improve this last sentence here. And don't forget, when you're talking about engaging your reader, especially if you're writing descriptively, you're going to want to include not just what the person can see, but also maybe what they can smell, what they can taste, what they can feel, all those other things as well. Okay? It's no good just telling me what I can see. If you really want to get me engaged in the story, give me an idea of what my other senses are doing as well. Okay? So pause the video and have a go. Try and engage as many senses as possible. Okay, so what can we see here? Well, first off, I've given the entire thing a bit more context, really, because as it stood, it just said I had a burger and I got into a taxi in the cab. It's not really given us much flavour, you know. So I've said, well, okay, I bought a burger at a cafe. So again, that's given us an idea of what this town might be like. Now I've said it's scalding hot, more gristle than anything. So you've got that sense of touch there as well. You've got the smell as well. The smell of roasting onion was delicious. And then I've added in a bit about how your character might be feeling. So they're talking about how they haven't eaten for nearly 12 hours, so they're feeling refreshed. So what I'd like you to do now, we've had a bit of a look at that. We've had a bit of a look at varying sentence structure. We've had a bit of a look at using things like adjectives and adverbs. And we've had a bit of a look at engaging all the senses to, get the reader interested. I would like you to have a go at the boring story rewrite task underneath this video.